Alright, so I've got a couple of Excel shapes out there on my document. Simple shapes, nothing big. I've got a rectangle, rounded corner rectangle, and I've got an arrow. Like I said, nothing big. But now let's take a look at some of the formatting. I want these shapes to really stand out and draw the users in. So first, I'll take a look at the rectangle. I'm going to select my rectangle, and once I've selected this Excel shape, I now get a new tab at the top of my screen, the Drawing Tools Format tab. And if I click on that Format tab, I've got all my formatting options right here. So like I said earlier, I've got the rectangle, but it's got a solid fill color, which is really blocking out what I'm trying to draw attention to. Well, with that shape selected, I'm going to go into the Format tab, I'll find my shape styles, and I'm going to change the shape fill, the color of the fill. And I'm going to say no fill. I don't want any fill around it. So now I've just got an outline, a border around this shape. And I'm going to format the border. I'll go to Shape Outline, and I want to make it red. I want to change the weight or the thickness. Let's go to like 3 points. And I think that's looking pretty good. Now I've created this outline to really draw attention to that group of numbers. And you know what? I think I'm going to shrink it up just a little bit so I can read that title. Let's pull that in. Let's make this look just a little bit more professional inside it, or a little bit cleaner in design. There we go. Alright, looking pretty solid. Now I want to do the same thing with my arrow. I want to make it more presentable, get it to stick out more. So once again, with the arrow selected, back to my Format tab, I'm going to change the fill. I'm going to make it, let's do this red color right here. I'm going to change the outline. I'll make it the darker red. And maybe I'll change the thickness of it as well. Let's go up maybe 2 1/4 in the size. Now I've got this nice thick red arrow that's really drawing attention to this 66% here. So if this is your first time opening this document, where are your eyes going to go? Right to that arrow, right to the red marks. There's not a whole lot of color in there, right? The red only shows up a little bit, so it's going to really draw the attention. And I'm outlining areas, I'm pointing at something. It's a really strong indicator of, hey, look right here. Right? All by utilizing these simple little shapes. Now I want to show off one more shape here before I close this discussion. So where do we find shapes again? You remember that? Back up to the Insert tab, into Illustrations, Shapes. Now some of these shapes come with additional options, such as the smiley face, or maybe even the arrow. I'll show the arrow as well. But I'm going to grab the smiley face. I'm going to go someplace and left click and drag just to create the smiley face. There we go. Some of these shapes come with additional little yellow markers on them. And this allows you to manipulate some of the properties of the shape. For example, with the smiley face, I can grab that little yellow marker and make it frown. Or I can make it indifferent. Doesn't matter anyway. Let's just okay, whatever. So we can manipulate that shape. I could format this one as well. With the arrow, I get a couple of the little yellow markers there. I can increase the head of this arrow just by moving that around. I can change the thickness of the tail on this arrow. So you can really start to manipulate this beyond just colors. Not all the shapes have this. I think my rectangle does because it's a rounded corner rectangle, and I can change how round those corners are. So really starting to manipulate and get these shapes to look exactly the way you want them to, not just default out of the box, plain, boring, simple shapes, but add a little bit of style to. Do some formatting with them. So try this out. You've added some shapes, now do some formatting with them. Change the border, change the fill, grab a couple other shapes, play around with those little yellow markers on there to change the dynamics of the shapes, but use them to enhance. Try not to distract. Maybe the smiley face, although it's pretty neat, maybe it's just not needed. I'm going to delete it. Just select it, hit my delete key, gone. So try adding some shapes and mess around with the formatting found on the Formatting tab that you get with the shape that's selected.